Welcome to CineMyles, the show for cinephiles. I'm your host, Miles Hughes. I'm joined today by Miss Blythe Reed.
Hello.
And we just saw Deepwater Horizon, the new film from the Berg Bros, director Peter Berg and star Mark Wahlberg.
There you go.
There you go.
I was going to say, I didn't know they were... No.
They're not. Based on a true story, the big BP oil spill that happened a few years back.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat.
The whole time.
Like, well before anything actually crazy started happen, because,
Yeah.
I mean, spoilers, the rig blows up, but it doesn't really happen until, what, like halfway through, maybe even further?
Stuff goes flying everywhere.
Oh, yeah, just explosions left and right, like the pressure's going, then water's going, then mud and gas, and then fire, and it's just...
I mean, it just gets more and more intense. I think I watched the second half of it like this the entire time. I was just like...
Well, and I think
away.
There's a lot of things that really contribute to that. It's really well shot.
Yeah.
The use of... there's a little bit of CG in it, which kind of takes you out of it, but the fire itself looks amazing, and it's rendered really well. The sound design is unbelievably good. Like, it really... You feel like you're there. You feel like you're in the middle of it, and it's, like, harrowing, and, like, every time something... like goes off, you know, you're jumping. It's almost like a horror movie in that way.
Yeah, and it's... I mean, I think that's something that Peter Berg does really well. He does the handheld a lot.
Yeah.
He did that a lot in Friday Night Lights. That even in extreme close-up, it was handheld. I think if you're gonna do a story based on true events, and you want to feel what they went through and what it was really like to be there, handheld is the way to go. So.
Well, it gives you that very immersive, almost documentary-ish sort of feel. And honestly, what I thought was really effective about the movie is that the first half is really just getting to know the people. And so you follow Mark Wahlberg around as he like says hi to all his colleagues, and like I gotta say, like, the script was really good for this movie. Like, I don't know how much of it was improvised or what, but the dialogue felt incredibly natural. And like they're talking about all these really specific like calculations and sort of things to run the rig. And it's like, I don't understand most of it, but I get the gist of what they're talking about.
Yeah,
like,
I understand that they understand, and that this rig didn't blow up out of, you know...
carelessness.
Yeah, exactly. These are really smart people who know what they're doing, and it just was a catastrophe that couldn't be stopped.
Well, the movie kind of has I guess you could call him a villain, at least a blame figure in the figure of John Malkovich's BP executive guy, who's kind of like, it looks like we're about to have a pressure thing, but if you do this loophole sort of thing, it doesn't look like that, so let's go ahead and drill anyway. And then, you know, spends the entire rest of the movie sort of like quietly like sulking in the corner, like because like...
Look at what I did.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I like him as an actor, but I would say he was the only one in the movie who, like, didn't feel... He felt too much of a character. Because Mark Wahlberg and Kurt Russell and a lot of the other, like, sort of, not no-name actors, but the smaller people, like, they felt just very natural, very grounded. And he was almost doing, like, a Colonel Sanders accent.
A little bit,
Some of it was, like, a little, like, big, a little actory. And it felt a little out of place with the people who were just sort of, like, they felt like they were going about their day. Just sort of, it wasn't very showy. It was very grounded.
Yeah, I don't think Peter Berg does showy even in action. And I think, speaking of dialect, I really, from the trailer and even from... Kate Hudson's appearance on, I think it was Jimmy Fallon, it was just a clip, and her dialogue took me out of it, because to me she's one of the few, I think, female actors that is herself in everything. So I thought she would take me out of it, and I thought she was fantastic. I wish that more people approached relationships that they portray on screen as though they're playing real people, because their chemistry was really good. But they also seemed like a natural, real married couple. You know? I really liked that human element of it.
Well, and that set the stakes early on, because they take the time to make you care about this guy and care about his family. It's not just like, oh, I have a family, I have to get back to it. Like, he only really brings up his family, like, once when stuff actually starts going down. But it's much more about, you know, in the back of your mind that, you know, these are these people who depend on him and care about him and love him. And it reminded me a lot of Peter Berg's last movie, which I also really enjoyed, Lone Survivor.
I didn't see it. I wanted to see it, and I never... I never made it to see it.
It's got a lot of similarities to this one, also starring Mark Wahlberg, but it's also about like this very tight-knit group that like, you know, they have their own shorthand, they're talking back and forth, you know, they're clearly like brothers, like beyond just like colleagues, and then they're in this incredibly intense, what feels like feature-length sort of situation, and every single moment you feel just how tense it is and how like desperate they are, in this very similar way to this one, very visceral.
Yeah, I knew that things were going to blow up, and to immediately from the very beginning take away the visual element, which is so much of what happens in action, adventure, disaster.
Well, it's a
so
spectacle
visual.
movie.
Yeah, and to strip all of that away, I thought was a really interesting artistic choice, and I think that helped to elevate it. What I think was brilliant about it is it put us again into their point of view, their position, is that there were so many instances where like the mud is on the glass, or the mud is on the glasses, or Kurt Russell's eyes are swollen shut. They can't see anything either. They're blocked. They don't know what's going on.
That's good.
So it kind of is like, this is what this was like. You don't have all your senses available to you. Even when there's an explosion, you know, your hearing goes out, and the sound going in and out, you know, putting us into that.
Well, and they did something almost the opposite of that at the end of the movie. Mild spoilers. Certain characters survive because they didn't all die. You can read the true story. Yeah. But the whole sequence afterwards, it's like almost played out like a shell-shocked kind of sound. Like I think of Saving Private Ryan when like an explosion goes off and there's like the ringing, but it goes over like several scenes, and like people are talking but you don't hear what they're saying, and it's like they're still stuck in this like, you know, PTSD-esque sort of like feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm still like just out of it.
It's
you know,
still not over.
One guy's screaming at Mark Wahlberg and he can't even barely make out what he's saying because he's just like, he's still in it, and like he's got the scars all over his face. He's just a mess. Really,
the only thing that truly bothered me was it was a little too patriotic.
Well, it's too heavy-handed with the patriotism.
Yeah, it's something that Peter Berg does, and that's fine. I understand, you know, his immense respect for the military and for working people, and as do I, as we all do. Otherwise, we wouldn't go see the movie.
Sure.
But I don't think it needs the pan up to the American flag waving in front of the fire. And
yeah, it's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this film, and to who?
I would definitely recommend this film. I would recommend it to everyone. I don't really think there's a demographic that wouldn't appreciate not only the story but the way that the story is told. I think it's brilliant.
That's the big thing. It's like, despite like your general interest, it is an incredibly well crafted film. It's an incredibly well told story. Really strong script, really strong performances across the board. It is engaging, it's immersive. It
was really visceral.
Yes.
You know, anything that makes me sink down in my seat and kind of crane away from it is, you know.
My big barometer is if it gets me to shout at the screen. Yeah. Because several times I was like, oh God, oh man. And it's like, that's, you're into it. You know you're into it. And in that way, I would say it's probably one of the most engaging movies I've seen all year.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching CineMyles.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, Blythe.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all those fun things, and stay tuned for more. Have a good night.
Bye.